This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
U.S. Senator Blanche Lincoln served the great United States of America in one of my favorite states, one of the prettiest states in the nation if you haven't been there. Great state of Arkansas, 1999 to 2011. She's a Democrat, and she jumps into the talk radio circuit to talk about an issue, a bill, legislation, kind of a mindset where America's polarized, and that's the PRO Act, and we're getting into labor and workforce development. Senator Lincoln, thanks for joining us. You're coming from a state, you're a right-to-work state, right?
That's correct. Arkansas is a right to work state. Mm-hmm.
And
like many other states, I think there's 20-something states that are right to work states.
Agreed. It's about half the nation. Let's get into your mindset on why you wanted to help with this and speak on it, and where's that balance? And not because of your party, but more because you're a policymaker much of your life. Why are you weighing in on this, and what's the deal on your side with PRO Act?
Right. Well, you know, I first started as a staffer on Capitol Hill in 1982 and then was elected to the House in 92 as a young single woman. And, you know, I grew to really appreciate and love our form of government. And it is important to know how policy is written and what's in that policy. And right now, running a business it's not easy. You know, you've got all kinds of things, unprecedented times, pandemics and economies that come and go. So it's important for particularly small businesses in many of our states to be able to survive. Some of our women-run businesses, you know, minority entrepreneurs, all kinds of things. And this PRO Act, you know, I support workers and labor unions, their right to organize, but the PRO Act goes too far. You know, it goes too far in terms of taking away workers' rights, and it can cause some irreversible harm to the economy, and as you mentioned, the Democrats' chances, quite frankly, in midterm elections. But I just think it's important to realize that if Democrats push through a radical piece of legislation like the PRO Act, not necessarily precisely written, you know, there's going to be some concerns in what happens. You know, I did experience the Employee Free Choice Act when I ran for re-election in the Senate for my third term, and it went too far. And I made it clear that I was happy to work with people to try to come up with a better bill, but I couldn't support that one because it did go too far. And so, you know, there's got to be a balance and a fair way to look at this, and this isn't, particularly in regard to our small businesses and, again, our women-owned businesses, independent contractors, and franchise. Think of what the franchise model has done to help families create a business, a family business, and to be profitable and to be successful. So there's just a lot of things like that I don't think people are paying attention to.
And they're not getting it. We're talking with former U.S. Senator Blanche Lincoln from Arkansas, and she's on the national circuit talking about this. Back in my day, when I didn't have a talk show or an advertising agency that helps Republicans nationally, I was a state representative, and I was, in my 4 years there in Alaska, chairman of Labor and Workforce Development. And you know the National Council of State Legislatures, I was active there too. I was actually the chair nationally on that. And the reason I bring that up is I was right in the fire of all this. And guess who endorsed me all 4 years in Alaska? AFL-CIO and all the trade associations and unions. But when I look at the PRO Act, I'm out right now on Alaska's AFL-CIO.org PRO Act website page. It says empower workers to exercise their freedom to organize and bargain. Create a mediation and arbitration process to ensure newly formed unions reach the first contract. Prevent employers from misclassifying workers. They make it sound, and Joelle and team, I love the folks here. They have them on my show every so often, but I don't think I would, you know, the header of this AFL-CIO Alaska page is pass the PRO Act. I don't think I would either. And I don't agree with them that it's the most comprehensive piece of worker protection legislation in the past half century that's worthy. They forget that part. Is this worthy of Americans that doesn't affect women-owned businesses? You mentioned it, franchises. You highlighted small businesses like my ad agency. Most of our listeners in Alaska or out of state, Pacific Northwest online, are small business owners. And so that is where you have stepped up and said, you know what, this isn't about parties, it's about economy, it's about post-COVID. All those things matter, don't they, as we try to get back on track and inflation's through the roof.
Right. Well, and you know, it's just the small things. It's not really a small thing, but losing the right to vote for or against unionization using a secret ballot. You know, I mean, that's kind of why go there? I mean, there's no reason that they have to raise their hand. Why in the world can you not use a secret ballot? And you know, I think when you look at the businesses that can be joint employers, you know, there's things in here that are going to saddle these small business owners with massive new costs and liabilities that they're going to have to protect themselves against or be subject to. Just like you said, with an economy here, while we're really trying to push the economy forward and strengthen it after the circumstances we've been through for the last couple of years, it's just critical that we pay attention to the details. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. You know, you got to look at the details here and what it does to, again, some of these independent contractors and others. I think, you know, it's not the right bill at the right time, for sure. But I think
in Alaska, Senator in Alaska Policy Forum, which is a think tank, very thoughtful. If they were in Arkansas, you'd love them, and they're very, I think, neutral in their approach. Chamber of Commerce, Alaska General Contractors, which are pretty much in every state just by name. Alliance, the Oil Industry Support Alliance. These are entities, whether or not you're familiar with them, in Alaska that are saying we're opposed to the PRO Act. Do you think that matters when you have industrial and niche and sector trade industries and chambers and policy forums and think tanks across the board that say, hey, we don't think this is the right legislation? To me, that matters. And I think that's a kind of a chevron on your badge to prevent the PRO Act from passing. To say, look what they said. These big groups in your state are opposed to it.
Yeah. Well, I just think, it's important for people to stand up when something's not right. And this is not right. You know, I was talking about independent contractors, with their own companies. They may end up being reclassified, with that undermining the basic entrepreneurial spirit and economy that our country was built on. Because it's not just those independent contractors, but others that are going to fall into some of those categories. It's fraught with misrepresentation, and it needs to be readdressed for all of these things, if it's even necessary to come up with something like this. So I think it's important for people to be aware, and as I said, having experienced going through this before, and concerned about, my own state as a right-to-work state, and all those small businesses and other entities in the small business world, about what they would be subjected to. It's important for people to pay attention.
Absolutely. And I know you're tight on time, Senator Blanche Lincoln. We're talking with former U.S. Senator, Arkansas. Super quick.
Great senators in Alaska, I'm telling you.
Well, I was about to say, we got a minute left, and I just wanted to ask this. I'm supportive of the infrastructure bill, and I'm a big fan, and I'm supporting Lisa Murkowski for re-election, Republican. Dan Sullivan's friend of the show, he's a Republican. We have two Republicans, obviously, in Alaska. They both supported, as did our sole congressman, the Dean of Congress, Don Young, longest-serving congressman, Republican. All three of them supported the infrastructure bill. How about you?
They did. Well, oh yes, absolutely. I mean, look at what the jobs that we create when we get that infrastructure in place, but how much more efficient we make our industries. I grew up on the Mississippi River. bridges and locks and dams and all kinds of stuff. But you've got some great ones. Ted Stevens and I were close buddies. He was really good to me. Frank Murkowski and Lisa, you just couldn't ask for anything better. She was a good friend. We raised she had 2 sons. I have 2 sons. We raised them when we were in the Senate together. She's a very thoughtful legislator. She speaks up, but she's also very, very respectful.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like yourself. You guys are 2 peas in a pod. I'm proud of your service. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. Keep fighting the fight, and thanks for your time, Senator.
You bet. Glad to be with you and your listeners. Take care of yourself.
Absolutely. You betcha. God bless. Hey, Tom Anderson Show. Good morning.